live! How are you? I'm Tim Van Milligan, and you're watching RockSim Live. This is where we talk about RockSim, RockSim Pro, and the Launch Visualizer. We're here to help you get the most out of the software. So if you have a question, we have the chat going on right now. And just type in your questions in the chat, and I'll try to get to them today. Let's see, we got a bunch of people already in the house. We have Carlos K. from Marietta, Georgia, the 3D printer guy, Mark Gillette from Orlando. We have Joe's High Power Rockets from Alamogordo, New Mexico. And the 3D printer guy says that he is having a heat wave in the UK. It's 86 outside and I'm dying. Ooh, yeah, because it's kind of late there at night right now. So if it's 86 at night, man, that must have been a pretty good heat wave going on. It's probably about 86 or 87 here in Colorado Springs right now. So we're kind of feeling it too. I woke up this morning and it was very humid. It says 90 degrees on my thermometer here on my computer screen. So thank you all for coming. Let's get started. So if you've never used RockSim before, let me give you a quick introduction on where you can get it. You come to the Apogee website. Our address is apogeerockets.com. And when you get here, this is our home page. We have this scrolling banner bar here, and there's a little button here you can click and you can sign up for our newsletter. You click the next one and there is RockSim, and if you click on that, it will take you to the latest news about RockSim, where you can download a free trial, where to buy it, if you have version 8 or version 9. You can click there to get a free upgrade. Again, we have a newsletter sign up right there. If you go to How To and Guides on our menu right there, then come down here to Software, there's even more information. Again, the free trial, where to purchase it, kind of like an overview, what is RockSim, the features, frequently asked questions, system requirements, and version history. We got a little bit of news on the version history front. In May, it was on May 16, we released version 10.4.0, and I just got this morning the Macintosh of version 10.4.0. So Windows has been out for a few weeks, about a month, and on the Mac version, since I got it this morning, as soon as we can put it into the right spot, we'll turn on the Mac version. And you can see here on the history page what all has changed in these new versions. There's been a lot of things that were added and a lot of things that were fixed. So that was really cool. We've been waiting for the Mac version for a month because Apple Computer has this process that software is required to be notarized to confirm that it's authentic. So once you download it and install it, what your computer does is it goes out to the Apple website and they ask Apple and they say, is this real software, and not virus? And if Apple says this is real software, they give the thumbs up and you can install it. And if it's not real software, they give the thumbs down, and you get these big warning messages that say, be careful what you do. Well, we didn't want any of that, any of our users to go through all those stupid warning messages. So we have it now notarized. So when you get it and install it, it just installs just fine, and you can run it, and you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And there is no viruses that we know of. Okay. What else is going on? So Also, if you go here to the how-to and guides, you can go to software. If you want to see our back episodes of RockSim Live Training, which we're doing right now, click on the link RockSim Live Training, and this will take you to the archives page. So last week, episode 73, on June 10, we did a whole episode on taking a rocket kit and putting it into RockSim like it's never been in RockSim before. A lot of kits, I wouldn't say most, but a lot of kits are already in RockSim, and you can download them from the internet. You just, go to the internet and you find your favorite kit, like this one, Superbird, and you type in a search engine, Superbird RockSim file, and it should come up. This one has been out for a long time on the internet. We are finally selling it again here at Apogee. Quest, they discontinued it for a while, and now they brought it back. And since we had all of our marketing page created, we decided to resell it. So here on the Apogee website, type in Superbird, and there's the picture of the Superbird. You click on that, and here's what it looks like, which you can see, which I just showed you. See if you can see it again. You can't see the whole thing because my face is hiding it. Yeah, but if you're on this page, right here at the top, there's a RockSim file for that, and you click on that, and it jumps you further down on the page where you can download the file. Also on the page, if you don't have RockSim and you're not ready to install it yourself, or your free trial has ended, you can still use this file. Actually, here on our website, right here, we have the launch visualizer, and you can, it's already loaded up on our page. So you just see this image right here, you just click on it, and it's going to load the launch visualizer right onto our web page, and it's loading right now. And you can see here's the Superbird, and you scroll down and you'll see it sitting on a launch pad. And this is all interactive, so you can zoom in using your mouse, your scroll wheel, and if you right click, you can spin around, look at it from any angle. Notice the compass on the ground, because in the launch visualizer you need to know which direction you're launching. And if you want to see the launch visualizer in full screen instead of inside this little window, you just click on the launch visualizer icon right there, and what it did is it opened up a new tab, and it's going to reload the launch visualizer, and it should reload that file that we were just looking at. So it's loading it right now. It's a little slow because my connection's a little slow. So there it is again. Instead of being in a vertical layout, now it's horizontal. You have a little bit more room, but you can still see it on the launch pad there. I am not logged in, so as soon as I log in, it's going to close this out, but I'll go ahead and do that. I'll log in under me. You can create a new account right down here when you go to log in. I'm just going to log in, enter my user information, click OK, sign in, and now I'm logged in. You can see that try and login button has gone away. And if I click on my little profile icon up here in the top right corner, it will show that I'm logged in and that I'm a premium member. But the one thing that it did do was that it got rid of my rocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close this again and then just re-click on the launch visualizer button. Now it remembers that I'm logged in. You stay logged in for 4 hours, so I can come back within 4 hours of logging in, and I'm still logged in, but now it's loading that rocket. So now I don't need to do anything except for load an engine and launch this thing. So let's go ahead and do a launch as our first experiment, and then I'll check my chat over here. So I'm going to first select the launch site, and it's loading a map right here. The default launch site is Pueblo, Colorado. This is my local club right here. Here on the ground we have a compass, and the black arrow points to the north, and I can swing it around so that north is straight up. Okay, so now north is out here in the distance, and then if I zoom out, you know, this is 3D, you know, here is Pueblo over here, actually right there. Colorado Springs is off in the distance. You know, I'm looking at the globe. Just a heads up, there's what's going on here. Michelle is saying something. Okay. Okay. I got to turn off my messages because that's annoying when they pop up because I think it's an emergency. Okay, so here's Colorado right here. Let's find a different launch site. You can launch anywhere in the world. Let's pick somewhere here in Arkansas. So I'm going to double click on the map, and it puts the launch pad right there where that red dot is. Let's see where we are. So I'm zooming in with my scroll wheel. I think I'm in a forest. Yeah, I think that's a lot of trees right there. So I don't want to launch in the trees. So let's launch here off of this little road. This is somebody's little farmhouse right there. But that's not a terrible launch site. I like it, so let's launch. So kind of get the lay of the land of your launch site here. I got trees up to the north. I got trees here to the southeast. But I got open land here kind of towards the west and kind of the southwest. So I'm going to angle my launch pad this direction. And to do that, you come over here to the starting state. And so now here's my rocket sitting on the pad again. Remember, I want to angle it kind of to the west or the southwest, this direction. So I'm going to take my compass right here. I'm going to swing it around. But you notice that the rocket didn't change because it's not angled at all. I'm launching straight up. So to angle the rocket, I'll just grab the slider and I can wing it around. You can see that it went from a green right there to red, and that's because if you're more than 30 degrees from vertical, you're out of the NAR safety code. So we kind of gave you that little reference there. So I'm going to be, well, that's pretty, still 25 degrees is pretty radical. So I want to get under, you know, I'll go 18 degrees. This right here is our weather conditions. I'm going to leave those alone. I want to see what my wind is. I have a steady wind, and if I click on it again, it tells me the wind is at 8 miles an hour coming out of the west. You see the west, the arrow is pointing that way, and that's the 270 degrees direction. North is 0 degrees, south is 180, west is 270. So that kind of gives you an idea. And again, if you want to change the wind direction, you should be able to just grab the slider here and, you know, change the wind to anything that you want. I'm going to make it kind of like there. And I'll click OK. I'm going to go here and click on the load motors. I'm going to choose an engine. It shows right there I have an 18 millimeter motor mount, and then it brings up all the 18 millimeter motors. I'm going to scroll down and find something that's maybe a C6. Select the delay, just like you do when you're flying a rocket in real life. I'm going to choose a C6-3 because this rocket over here, it's a kind of a big rocket. So C6-3 is okay. It doesn't matter if your delay is wrong. You can always adjust it later and find the best delay. Okay, I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to hit the launch button. The launch button is down here underneath my face. Let me move that out of there. So you can see my launch button right there. And if I click launch, It says, do you want to confirm that launch site? Because I chose a new launch site and I didn't confirm it earlier, it's asking me if I want to do it now. So I'm going to say OK. And then it's going to tell me how many credits are used. I'm going to use up 9 credits. And my total available is well over 30,000, so it's not going to use a lot. And just let it run. And then it's running it in the cloud. So you don't have to load any software on your computer. It just runs it in the cloud. Right now I'm seeing black. So either my map didn't load or I'm underground. Let's click and launch and see if it comes up out of the ground. No, didn't come up out of the ground. Okay. I'm going to pause it there. Let's see if we can fix the map. Okay, so to fix the map, go back to your launch starting site. And I need to see the world again. Okay. Let's see, I was in Arkansas, right? Arkansas? A-R-K. I got no Arkansas. Oh, well, we'll launch here. Oops. I forget what that was. Luminet. I don't know where that one is. We'll find out. Okay, it's still not showing me my map. What's going on there, map? Let's launch it again. Let's see if the map reappears. No. It did not reappear. Ah, what's going on? Now I'm getting this big old gray thing going on here. Well, one of the things you can do, since this is web based, is you just come up here to the refresh button and refresh. Let's see what happens. Maybe I lost my connection to the internet because it's being really slow. Okay, as soon as it loads the rocket, while that's doing that, I am going to check my chats. 3D printer guy says it's 86 degrees and the ground has gone all dry as well. Not so good, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of like Colorado. We're always like that. We have Alan White from Seabrook, Texas. He's right next to NASA. Thomas Phillips says, Launch Visualizer, is there a way to export the flight data from the Launch Visualizer to a CSV? I can answer that one, Thomas, and the answer is unfortunately no. It's one of the future features that we'd like to do, but if you want the export, you have to use the desktop version of RockSim or RockSim Pro. Carlos K, are there pre-done part groups for Apogee exhaust baffles? Okay, that's a good question, says Carlos. He wants to talk about exhaust baffles. So I'll get to that in just a second. All right, so my map, it looks like it's loading now. Let's go back to where we were. I want to figure out why that rocket was underground. Of course, I won't remember where it was. I know I was in Arkansas. There's Kansas, here's Arkansas. I think I clicked somewhere in here. We're just going to have picked a new launch site. I'm zooming in. This is not a bad launch site here. It's nice and flat. It's very brown. Okay, so to confirm that launch site, click confirm. When it does that, it loads in the latitude and longitude of that dot on the Earth, as well as the altitude above sea level. Let's go load a motor. We still have the C6 there, C6.5. That's good. And under here is the launch button. I'm just going to click the launch button, simulate, and let's see. See if my map loads this time and I'm not under the ground. Okay, so this is good. It's not being black. It means I'm not under the ground. See this this triangle right here? That is a cone, actually. That's called the weathercocking cone. I'm in the middle of a field, so there's not a lot of features in the field. Yeah, let's swing it around to the north. And to swing it around to the north real quick, you can just hit the 2D button right there. Your rocket is right in the middle of the screen. You can't see it, but if I zoom in, you'll see it. I'm going to rotate it. Oops, that moved it. I just wanted to spin it. There we go. Okay, so now you can kind of just barely see the cone right there. Well, at the bottom of the cone is the rocket. And the rocket's probably going to stay with the maximum height of the rocket. It's probably going to be in that cone. So that kind of gives you an indication on how much zooming you can do to see the entire trajectory. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so the rocket is down here, and this is what it looks like on the launch pad. I'm going to just hit launch, and you'll see the rocket take off. Oops, okay. So rocket, oops, I paused it. Okay, the rocket's taking off. This is the smoke right here. It's blowing that direction. It reaches apogee right about there and puts out the green dot. The green dot, the color means that it's inside the cone, and that's good. That's what we want to see. And then this green line here is the trajectory coming down, and this red line is the ground path of the rocket. I'm going to pause it right here. And then, so this is 3D, so I can look at it from any angle. Okay, so north is off here up in this direction, and the rocket is coming down to the kind of the northeast, and then right here is the rocket under parachute. So if I zoom in on the rocket, so I'm going to go to the trajectory view and then hit this button right here to find the rocket, and I'll put the rocket right in the middle of the screen, and then I can just zoom in on it, and eventually I'll see the rocket kind of like this image here, but I'll also see the parachute. And so now we can see the parachute, the rocket under the parachute right there. All right, and then you can, again, this is 3D, so you can spin it around. And you can tell the altitude and the distance where the rocket is up here in the corner. All right, so that's the launch visualizer. Last week when we left off, the launch visualizer was broke, but the programmers have fixed it. I think the last week, we had the Quest Falcon, which is kind of similar to the Superbird. It's just smaller and it has plastic fins. And what our topic was last week was making a design file for it, and then we uploaded it into the launch visualizer, and that's where I left because it wasn't working. So I just wanted to show you that it is now indeed working. So it's loading it right here. So there it is, and that was the Quest Falcon. Yeah, so last week we didn't even get to that part. Okay, so Carlos says, group parts for exhaust baffle. Carlos also emailed us, and he wanted to know about streamers. So let's go into RockSim. So here is RockSim. I have a Diamondback rocket here, And does this one have a streamer? To find out, you come here to Rocket Design Components. Ah, look, it does have a streamer right there. Okay, so the question that he emailed was, basically he wanted to know how to pick a streamer for a rocket and what some of the fields were on RockSim in regards to picking a streamer. So let's open up the streamer in the editor screen just by double clicking on it. Okay, so it shows the picture of the rocket, and I'm going to go to a 2D view. Oh, come on. This button is being flaky. Why is it being flaky? Okay, so here's a 2D view. That's kind of an interesting little bug there that it wouldn't hold for me. So here's the streamer, and the question that he had was, what's this texture tab here on the corner, and how do we use that to pick a streamer? Well, you'll also notice on this button bar is one called color, and this is the color of the streamer. So right now I have this streamer as blue, and I can change that color to red, and you notice that the color changed. This column right here on this side of the screen has to do with the 3D color. And when we were in the launch visualizer, you saw everything was in 3D, and that parachute on the Superbird was yellow. And I set that here in RockSim. I just went to the 3D color, and instead of blue, I picked yellow. So you have the 2D color and the 3D color. This is the 2D graphic right here, and this is the 3D graphic right here, but you can't see the streamer in 3D because it's inside the tube. So, so you wouldn't be able to see the color. Now texture, now you think of a streamer, and in the old days, Estes used to provide streamers, and this goes back into the 60s, 1960s and 1970s. Estes used for streamers crepe paper. And if you look at crepe paper, it has a texture. It's a nice big bumpy, it's kind of like crepe paper. How do you describe it if you've never seen crepe paper before? Because there are probably kids out there who've never seen crepe paper. It's very rough. It's kind of like the worst toilet paper you've ever used in your life, and then double that. Scratchy, itchy, gritty, kind of hard, not soft. But the key thing about crepe paper is, per federal mandate, it has to be flame proof, because people use it for birthday parties, for decorations. So they'll hang it from one corner of the room to the other corner, and then they twist it and they make it all look pretty. But imagine a birthday cake sitting underneath your crepe paper streamers with candles burning on it, and maybe your crepe paper, all of a sudden a corner falls and it falls right across the candles and it lights on fire. And so because of that situation, there's a mandate that all crepe paper has to be flame proof. Well, because it's flame proof, Estes got the great idea to say, hey, let's put it in a rocket as a streamer. And so that's why people use crepe paper streamers. And they have a nice texture to them, and that texture increases the drag on the streamer, so it makes it fall a little slower. Now, this texture here in RockSim has absolutely nothing to do with the texture of the crepe paper. We call this texture, another word for it is decals. Like here on this rocket, we have a decal right here that says Superbird, and then we have a decal here with colors on it. So if you want to decorate your rocket in RockSim, you use this tab right here called Textures. And with textures, you can apply decals to the surface of your rocket. So if I click on the Textures tab, all of this has to do with applying a decal on that part. Now, every part in the rocket has a texture tab, including things like parachutes and streamers, which don't have decals on them. So trying to apply a decal to a streamer is probably not going to give you the results that you want. Imagine, you know, putting the word Superbird on your streamer, or on the Apogee parachutes. You know, you've seen the Apogee parachutes. Let me open up an Apogee parachute on our website. Let's try a 24-inch parachute, if I can spell parachute right. Okay, so here's a 24-inch nylon parachute. We actually, when we have these made, we actually print, like a decal, the pattern on top of that parachute. Now, that would be cool to put that on your parachute so you could see it in a 3D visualization like the launch visualizer. And I don't think it's going to work, but we can try. We'll try it here with this rocket. We'll try to put it on a streamer. So first I need to find a decal file. So I'm going to click cancel. I'm going to click OK because I want to save that color red. See, this one already has decals on it, like on this body tube up here. If I go to the front body tube and go to texture, you can see it has a decal file. And I'm going to copy this image. So this is an image file. A PNG is an image, like a JPEG or a GIF. It's just a format for an image. And this tells me where it's stored. It's stored in my applications folder, RockSim 8, Diamondback, tube decal. So I'm going to copy that. That file is used if I go to 3D right here and then zoom in. You can see my decal file, and I can flip it and see now it flipped right. Now it says it right. And if I would rotate the rocket around, I could probably see that, so you can actually read the words. There we go. I'm getting there. See, there it says Diamondback. Okay, so that's a texture file right there. And you can play with the parameters here, and I can rotate it around, and you can see it's changing the decal. It's kind of subtle because my image is not that big right here, and it's rotating it around. And if I get to 180 degrees, it'd probably be backwards again. So I'm going to type in 180. All of this stuff here, this is a new feature in RockSim version 10.4. We added this rotation slider. We added slider bars for all of these positioning, so you can reposition your decals and move them around. It takes a little bit of finagling because there's a lot of variables that control the position of the decal. So again, there's my decal. It says Diamondback. And if I flip it back to 0 degrees orientation, there it is. So anyway, I've copied that file, and let's see if we can put it on the streamer. So I'm going to click cancel. Save my changes? No. I'm going back to that streamer right here. So I expanded the body tube. Now I can see my streamer. Okay, so now I'm in the streamer again. And unfortunately, you can't see the streamer. But I can apply a texture to it. I'm going to do a paste. And it applied that texture to that decal. But you really can't see it, can you? But it's associated to the decal. I wonder if it shows up in 3D. I've never tried this before, so this is how I learn too. I just experiment and see if it's possible. I have no idea. So I'm going to save this file. I can't see this in 3D in RockSim. I could do it in RockSim Pro, and I think I might do that. So I'm going to save it. Save it as. I'm going to put it on my desktop, so I know where it is. Desktop. Actually, cancel that. File. Where was it saved? File, save as. I need to know where this file is saved. Because it has decal files, those decal files have to be associated with the rocket because it has to load the rocket and load the decals. So I'm just finding it where it's stored. RockSim design, sample rocket design. Okay, so it's already on my desktop in a folder. So I'm going to hit save. Do I want to replace it? Sure, why not? And it tells me that it's replaced it. Okay, so now I'm going to open RockSim Pro, because RockSim Pro will allow me to see the rocket coming down just like the launch visualizer. And since it's on my computer, it should load a lot faster than trying to load from the internet. So I'm going to open that design. Let me move this screen around here so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, I want to go to the desktop. It was in a folder called RockSim Designs. Sample semi-rockets. Here's the Diamondback. There's my file. Click open. Okay, so there's the rocket. Now we're going to run a simulation. Choose engine. Oops, that opened on the wrong screen. We'll go with that one, a C18. Pick the, I don't know, pick a 6-second delay. Click OK. And flight profile. Let's see what happens. It's loading, running the simulation. And I got the spinning ball of death. It's just loading slow. Okay, so there's the rocket. Okay, so there's the Diamondback decal. And where am I launching from? I got this nice little field right there. Let's launch it. Rocket takes off. I'm only caring about my streamer. I want to see if that streamer has the pattern applied to it. I don't think it will, but we'll take a look. So I'm going to pause it right there. Oops. Pause it right there. Let's look at it like this. Find the rocket. And then I want to zoom in. Okay, so see, I got a blue streamer. There's my rocket, but there's no decal applied to that, which I didn't think there was, because it'd be kind of hard to apply decal to that. Okay, so I'm going to look at it at the other side just to be certain. There's the smoke. Yeah, the other side is just regular blue decal. Blue streamer. Didn't we change that to a different color? I don't think we did. Okay, close that. I can just double check. I go to my design components, go to the streamer, go to texture. Yeah, it still says there's a decal. My color, yeah, I had it as blue. Didn't change it. Okay, so that answers the question of what does texture do. And on a decal, it doesn't do anything. The sole purpose of the textures is for putting decals on the rocket tubes and fins, things like that. You can apply them to nose cones, but apparently you can't apply it to anything on the inside of the rocket. Okay, so how do you pick a streamer? What you would do is look here at the descent rate, and we want that descent rate under 15 miles an hour. That's kind of the rule of thumb for streamers. It's kind of for parachutes too. You want the rocket landing slow enough that it's not going to break anything. And I kind of think that under 15 miles an hour is probably landing slow enough where it's not going to break anything. You might want it slower if your rocket's more delicate. So I want to keep this descent rate under 15, and so then it's a matter of, you know, changing. You can change the length, the width, the thickness, and you can also change this coefficient of drag of the streamer. Yeah. And this little checkbox here that says the streamer is folded. Again, that is for making physical texture. If I uncheck it, you see the CD comes way down, so that thing's going to drop faster, and then the descent rate went way up because it's coming down faster. If you fold your streamer, and I mean, when I mean fold, I mean like something that holds a crease. Mylar will hold a crease. We sell Mylar streamer material that will hold a crease. Crepe paper doesn't hold a crease. So when you fold it, the object of folding it is to increase the surface area so that it falls slower. But if you don't fold it, if you just roll it up, then uncheck that. But then you'll see your descent rate comes down or goes up way high, which means the rocket has fallen fast. So there's really well, there is a button right here called Recommend a Streamer. If you click on it, it recommended this streamer. It was pretty similar, close to what it was. It's still going to fall pretty fast though. So you would tweak it, and you know, the biggest influence here is the coefficient of drag. Using a streamer this is why streamers aren't used so often, is because they fall so fast. Typically you would use it in a very, very lightweight rocket, like a competition rocket, you know, A's, and not too often even a B or C motor, unless it was a competition streamer, was designed to fall really slow. They're also used in high power rockets, but not for when the rocket hits the ground. They're for like a drogue parachute. Instead of using a drogue parachute, you can use a streamer. It does the same thing. Allows the rocket to fall fast so that it doesn't drift with the wind. And then the advantage of a streamer, I saw one guy, he used a streamer that was 100 feet long, and it was just awesome in the sky because it was just so huge. And the advantage of that is you can see it for a really long way. So if your rocket goes really high and you can't see it because it's just a little speck in the sky, you put out a big streamer, there's a really good chance you're going to see it a lot easier than if it was a small streamer or drogeless. You know, in drogeless you don't use anything, and then the rocket just falls and it just tumbles down, you know, on a shock cord, and this shock cord becomes your streamer. So I see them used a lot in high power rocketry as well. Streamers work really good for that, and it's more for falling fast and high visibility. Yeah, so try to get your descent rate, you know, around 15 miles an hour or lower. If your rocket is really sturdy, like it has really good fin fillets on it so that the fins aren't going to pop off if it hits hard, you can go higher speed. You just have to make your own judgment on how much speed your rocket can handle. This is the hard thing about rocketry, is you got to think like an engineer. You got to think through the process, and what can my rocket handle as far as strength goes. So hopefully that helps. Alan White says, Terry, I shot a rocket over your house. Did you hear it? I wonder if he was using the launch visualizer. Okay, so the other question he had was about ejection baffles. And his question was, are there pre-made ejection baffles in RockSim? And the answer is no. There's not, because they're so easy to make. If you look at ejection baffles, like here on the Apogee website, okay, so here's a 29, here's a 74 millimeter. So this is about 3 inches in diameter. And you look at it, what is it made out of? It's made out of a tube coupler, and you have a disc in the front, an eye bolt, and 2 discs. You have one in the front, one in the back. So creating a ejection baffle is pretty easy. You don't need something stored in RockSim. This is my hint. Just create it. It'll take you, 2 minutes. Watch. So first you have to say, where is my ejection baffle going to go? So on this rocket, you would put your ejection baffle in front of the motor mount, somewhere right in here. So you got to find that tube. So just click on it, and it will find the tube for you. Rear body tube. And then you highlight it, and you can say, okay, I'm going to put in a coupler here. I'm going to start out with my baffle being a coupler and 2 bulkheads. So coupler, click on that. Okay, so this rocket right here is a 29 millimeter diameter rocket. And how do you know that? Well, you probably wouldn't know, but I do. You'd figure it out pretty simple. So take my word for it, it's 29 millimeter. And there's the coupler right there. Let me make the screen bigger. It's the blue box. And you put it in front of the motor. I could go all the way up here. I'm going to move it down. So I'm just going to change the location. I'll put it back right about there. I want it a little bit, I try to say at least 1 body tube diameter in front of the rocket engine. So here's our rocket engine. So the distance here, I want it to be at least the diameter of the tube. And if you kind of eyeball it, you could say, yeah, that's fine. I'm going to change the name of it to baffle tube. Click OK. So there's my baffle inside the rocket, and now I'm going to add some bulkheads. And if I click on the baffle tube, I can't add a bulkhead because they're not available, they're grayed out, but I can add it to the tube. And I'm going to hit bulkhead, and now when it comes up, and this is the database, I'm going to cancel out of the database. So my bulkhead is right here. I need to put it right here or right here, either the front one or the back one. So I'm just going to slide it right there. I need to give it some thickness. I'm going to make it 1/8 of an inch thick. This is going to be made out of plywood. So hit tab after you do the thickness. And the material, I'm going to say plywood. Doesn't matter which plywood I use. I'll use that one. Sorry. So there's the bulkhead. That's the first one. Now it has some holes in it that you saw in my image. So you can kind of guesstimate them. You know, how big in diameter are those little holes? I'm going to say ½ inch, so 0.5 inches, and they'll make a hole in it, but it'll account for the weight. So I'm going to call this the forward. There's my caps lock on. Forward baffle bulkhead, and then click OK. So there's the first one. And now I'm going to add the second one, and this one's going to be even easier. I'm just going to copy and paste. So I'm going to highlight it, go to Edit, go to Copy. Then I'm going to come back down to the body tube. I need to paste it on that tube. So I'm going to highlight the tube, come to Edit, and Paste. And if you notice, if I scroll down, now I see I have 2 forward baffle bulkheads. Because when I copied it, I copied everything, you know, even its location. So now I just need to move that one baffle back. So I'm going to edit the baffle by double-clicking on it. And I'm going to change the name to rear baffle bulkhead, and then here's the location, and I need to move it right there. So I'm just going to grab the slider bar here and just slide it back to right there. So now I have that bulkhead right there. My baffle is done. That's it. And just 3 parts. Oh, I got to have the, I have screw eye, an eye bolt on the front of the baffle. For that, that would be a mass object because there's no button here called eye bolt or screw eye. So I should be able to add a mass object. If you click on it and you can't add one, just go up to the parent up here, highlight that one, and now I can add a mass object, which is right here in the corner. And I want to add that eye bolt, and what it's going to do is look in the database. Okay, so we have a quick link, a forged eye bolt. That's kind of like too heavy. Here's a 1/4 inch eye bolt. Well, we'll take that one. Click OK. So put it right there. It tells me that's 25 grams. Let me go back here. See, it has an eye bolt there. I wonder how big that eye bolt is. I bet you that's a 1/4 inch. I bet you that is the right one. It looks pretty big. Let me see this image here. Yeah. So that's a big eye bolt with a washer and a nut. So I can believe that's 25 grams. So I'm gonna take it. Go back to RockSim, and I need to put that mass object right there. I need to move it right there. And I'm just going to slide it back right there. So that's where that eye bolt is, and click OK. All right, so now I have created a baffle tube. Okay, so now, yeah, it was that simple. And that's how I would recommend doing it, is just create it. It's 4 parts. And if you want to go even faster than making 4 parts, you could just use a mass object. Because anything on the inside of the rocket is only accounting for the mass of the flight, and it really doesn't account for aerodynamics. It's not going to affect the air flowing over the rocket because it's on the inside of the rocket. So a mass object could be used to account for that entire baffle. So if I go here to the Apogee website again, if I look at the weight, it shows 74.4 grams. And this is a 74 millimeter baffle. If we had a 29 millimeter baffle, here's a 29 millimeter ejection baffle. This one weighs 6.5 grams. It's got a different eye bolt. than the one I used on this. So that's probably more appropriate for this size rocket. Oh, all of a sudden I'm like sleepy. I need to get more rest at night. Okay. Terry Wheelock says, I'm late. You guys didn't wake me. Awesome. Terry Wheelock says, can we do dual deployment in RockSim now? And the answer is yes, you can. Carlos K says, I spent so much time on Wikipedia trying to look for streamer texture info, and you probably didn't find it because it really doesn't exist. Yeah, sorry for the confusion, Carlos. I know this. I would have never thought that people, I learn a lot too just by listening to the questions, and that helps us make RockSim better. Okay. Dual deployment. Terry wants to look at dual deployment. Dual deployment is easy. I'm in RockSim Pro. Let's go back into RockSim. Here's RockSim. That's how I can tell. So now we're back. This design does not have the baffle in it. But I can set it up for dual deployment. For dual deployment, you need 2 recovery devices. I already have one. That's the streamer. I just need to add another one. So you go to the first. You got to pick where you're going to put that device, because the weight matters. Where the weight is located in the rocket matters. And this rocket, I'm going to put it in the front tube with the streamer. So highlight the front tube. Come here to parachute. And this brings up the parachute database. I'm going to choose a 24-inch plastic parachute. It might be a little bit too big. 18-inch. Click OK, and here's the parachute right there. I'm going to change the location just by sliding it to the back a little bit. I'm still in the tube. My tube ends right there. So I'm still within the tube. Here's the streamer. Here's the parachute. And this tells me this is like a really high descent rate. What's going on? Why is that? This is 18-inch. I'm going to click on medium descent rate. So 20-inch diameter parachute would give me an 8 mile an hour. If I change this back to 18, it will probably recalculate. Okay, so 10 miles an hour at landing. And that's based on the mass of this rocket. It's going to be a little bit higher because I don't have a rocket engine in here. When you load a parachute and you want to look at the descent rate, make sure you have the rocket motor in. So I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to load a rocket motor. This says an 18 millimeter motor mount. Choose an engine. I'll choose, again, Estes C6. And I'll make it a 5-second delay and click OK. And I'm not going to click launch right now. I want to click OK. And I'm going to go back to that parachute. And remember the last time we did not have a motor in, and it showed our descent rate as 10 miles an hour. Now when we change this, we go back to 20 inches and then go back to 18 inches, it's going to recalculate. And now it's about the same, actually. We didn't change too much. Calculated descent mass. I don't remember what our calculated descent mass was before, but now with the rocket motor in there, it will recalculate that descent mass. Click OK. So the rocket is now complete. We did load an engine. Oops. And Let's look at the flight events. Okay, so this is where you set up dual deployment. We have the streamer. We want the streamer to deploy at Apogee, which is really simple. And the parachute, we want to deploy at an altitude. And you can pick whatever altitude you want. So first you have to say, I'm going to deploy at an altitude, and then you need to pick what altitude. Right now it's set at 0, so it wouldn't deploy that main parachute until a rocket hit the ground, which we don't want. Let's say 100 feet. I don't know how high this rocket's going to go, so we're going to start at 100 feet. Click Flight Profile, and it's going to run the simulation, and it says the maximum altitude was 207 feet. Here's the rocket, and when we launch it, and when the rocket comes down to 100 feet, it should deploy the parachute. So the streamer is out. I'm looking at here at the altitude, and I missed it. But the parachute came out at 100 feet. We'll watch it one more time. So it's really easy to set up dual deployment. You just need to remember you got 2 recovery devices inside the rocket. And then you have to set up the flight events to tell it when each of the recovery devices, either 2 parachutes or a streamer and a parachute, 2 streamers. If you're doing drogueless, you need to use a streamer, but you make your streamer really small so that the rocket will fall like a rock. Okay, and Thierry says, yeah, he gets it. He understands how that works. So, we've come to 3 o'clock, and our time is expired again. So, what you see on the screen is a coupon code to get a free 1-month subscription as a premium member to the launch visualizer. And so remember, the launch visualizer is at RockSim.com. So if you open your web browser and you go to RockSim.com, which you can't see on my screen because I'm not showing my screen, use that coupon code. Let me show you this real quick. Let me go back to my screen. RockSim.com, open that up. It should still see me as being logged in, because remember I said you're logged in for 4 hours until you're kicked out. But if you go, there's 2 ways to use it. First, you got to have an account. So you got to make a basic account. And once you have a basic account, then you can come. There's 2 ways to do it. One is to come to the home button, which was what I just clicked on, and then come on down here to plans, and then click pay now. You're not going to be asked for a credit card, but you got to get to where the coupon is inserted. So what you would do is you'd find this tab right here that says apply coupon, and then you can type in that coupon code right there. The other way of getting there is if you go to your account, and this is the long way. Go to the account, go to user dashboard, and then let's see, is it under information? Yeah, it's under information. Again, you can come down to pay now. Yeah, that's how I would do it. Click pay now and then apply coupon. And that's how you can apply that coupon to get a free 1-month premium membership using the coupon code RSL, and this is uppercase 73. And 73, that stands for the RockSim Live 73rd episode, because we released the coupon last week. The coupon, you can only use the coupon until June 25, 2022. So after June 25, that gives you about 1 more week to use the coupon to get your free 1-month free premium membership. And when I mean premium, what that means is you get access to all the features of RockSim Pro. Okay. I think that's it. There's no more questions. So I think we'll end the stream now. Let me turn this thing off here so you can see my face. Yeah. So we will be back next week, Friday, at 2 p.m. Mountain Time Zone in the United States. That's kind of like 9 p.m. in the UK. And we get people from all over the world watching these things. So, but come here at 2 p.m. I don't know what time, I guess somewhere around 9 p.m. Zulu time. That'd be universal time, right? Yeah, we'll be back. We'll do another episode. We'll answer your questions, have your questions ready. If you want to submit them ahead of time, you can come to the Apogee website. Just go to the contact page, fill out your questions, send that to us, and we'll get to that next week. And I encourage that because we like to have, you know, an idea of what we're going to talk about, so we're not blindsided by really cool questions that we can't answer. All right, so I'm going to launch tomorrow. How about you? So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go out and launch something.